Welcome to Florida chapter of American Academy of Pediatric Trainee Tips, an educational series for pediatric trainees offering advice on topics of interest identified by medical student, resident, and fellow members of the Florida chapter of American Academy of Pediatric. I'm your host, Johanna, a third-year pediatric resident at University of Florida, Jacksonville, Florida, and a member of Florida chapter of AAP Resident and Trainee Committee. On this session of Florida Chapter AAP Trainee Tips, we have Dr. Corinne Bria and Dr. Johanna Kielbasa of Nemours Children's Hospital in Orlando, Florida, will offer guidance on transitioning to fellow and junior faculty leadership to help you understand the role, developmental skills, education, and communication of a strong fellow and junior faculty leader in medicine, and take away a little caveat of how to grow in a fellow and junior faculty leadership role. Dr. Bria is an associate professor of pediatric at University of Central Florida and a pediatric emergency medicine physician at Nemours Children's Hospital in Orlando, Florida. She has a master's degree in medical education and serves as associate program director for the general pediatric residency program at Nemours Children's Hospital. She is interested in building curricula for resident-based education, utilizing simulation, growing the advocacy program, and mentoring medical student and resident. She loves spending time with her husband and 4 children, group fitnessing, and long days at the beach. Dr. Kielbasa attended Wake Forest University for both medical school and residency, ultimately graduating in May 2011. Given her love of academic medicine, she moved across the country with her family to Oklahoma in order to start her educational career as a junior faculty at the University of Oklahoma from 2011 to 2017 as an assistant professor. Dr. Kielbasa came to Nemours in 2017 and is now an associate professor. She is a UCF medical student clerkship site director for Nemours. She is the director of education for NCH Division of Hospital Medicine. Dr. Kielbasa is one of 8 board-certified pediatric hospitalists at Nemours and is thrilled to be part of such an amazing and rapidly growing program, and is grateful for the continued support Nemours and UCF continue to provide her through her educational career. Now, I will turn it over to Dr. Bria and Dr. Kielbasa.
Thank you again, Dr. Hannah. One last time for our 4th and final video of our little trainee tip for the Florida chapter of AAP. Again, thank you for letting us do this, and we're excited to be here. So this is your final transition in residency. So to a fellow and or junior faculty, which is when things get real. So one of the first things that I'll talk about is the role that you take on as a fellow and or junior faculty. At this point, so I remember as a resident, intern year, you're overwhelmed by everything you have to learn. Your second year, you're like, oh, I got this, I can do this, and you're marching right along. Come your third year, like, I have 12 months to do what, and then I'm gonna be in charge. So here's your moment, you're now in charge. So you are the final owner of patient care at this point. Everything falls on you ultimately. So that little backdoor supervision Dr. Bria talked about before is really important to have practiced, so that at this point you can continue with that backdoor supervision. We'll talk more about that. But the biggest thing is now you get to lead seniors in their leading. So you're leading the leaders. And it's really not about the success that you possess as an attending. It's about the success of your seniors. I feel like a happy mom every time I can help a resident get a lumbar puncture, every time they have an amazing communication with the family on family-centered grounds, every time they come up with some mind-boggling diagnosis. based on maybe something we had helped teach about before. So really, it really comes down to being about the senior residents, being about their time to shine, being about lifting them up, and being the platform that they can stand on. It is still our job, though, to know and kind of pre-plan those next steps in patient management. As we kind of talked about before, you know, discharge planning starts at the time of admission, but there are multiple things that I just had a discussion with a senior the other day. You don't know what you don't know. And so it's our job, with more levels, more years of education, and more years of training, you learn stuff along the way. So we are the ones that should see completely from A to Z. If the senior can go A, C, F, Q, D, then we should be the ones that go all the way through to make the hospital stay, the ER visit, the ICU stay, any other part of inpatient, outpatient, medical care helpful. So big picture, but with details along the way.
Absolutely. And as you're approaching your personal development, here are some skills that we want you to think about. So this is a time where life is probably rapidly changing. Life in terms of maybe being in a long-term relationship, maybe getting married, maybe being early in your marriage, maybe thinking about having kids or already having a gaggle of kids like some of us have, me specifically. Every family looks different and is big and bold and beautiful in its own way. And so you will sometimes feel like you have these competing priorities and these competing very important obligations with regards to your time. And it is very important at this time to continue with your lifelong learning of scheduling and sort of where can I be, when can I be there, how can I get creative in how I'm managing this, leaning into saying no, learning the power of just saying, no, I just don't have time. I can't do that right now. That's not something that is in the cards. That is a very, very powerful phrase or statement. The other thing too at this time, whether it be research, whether it be education, whether it be advocacy, whether it be diversity and inclusion work, this is the time where we want you to feel the ownership of moving those fields forward. So you may be working with your mentor or your mentorship team. You may be applying for grants. You may be in the midst of IRB or actually doing the projects. But we want you to think about how powerful it is to be a proponent of moving medicine forward. Again, reflecting on what we said at the very beginning during the overview, you are a very important aspect of medicine, and to never lose sight about that. This is also where things start to flip. So we talked earlier on about seeking mentorship. You now may become the mentor. And so learning, what does that look like? Learning from the mentorship that you received or the mentorship that you would have liked to receive. How is that going to affect your style? Again, you're going to take things with you that resonated. You're going to leave things that didn't. And how does that affect how you become or who you become as a mentor? But it is a time where people are going to start seeking you out, and you're going to think, why are they doing that? I don't know anything. But the reality is you do, and it's time to embrace that.
Awesome. Totally agree. So the next part, which kind of plays right off of that, is the education piece of things and becoming a fellow or junior faculty, and where is your role in education. One of the most exciting things is to be able to become a cushion that your seniors to have latitude and true autonomy to really be able to safely fail. So in a way that does not have any patient harm. So what I mean by that is still, again, knowing everything about your patient, having that information already in your pocket, and then pushing your senior to the limelight, letting them be in charge, letting them realize when they know things they know and they don't know things they don't know, and be able to accept that or come up with an answer, whether it's in the ER coming up with a differential, again on the floor, coming up with a diagnosis, or ER, PICU, wherever you are. It's okay to let them be wrong, and then knowing all the background information to be able to support them and explain why, okay, I appreciate your thought process, and instead we're going to do this because of, whatever the information that we have in our pockets is. But be that cushion for them. I think that's huge. No, you don't learn and grow unless you fail. there is no growth without failure. The other thing is to really at this time in your career, this is where you need to volunteer. It should be part of what you want to do. If you're in an academic setting, especially in an academic setting, but even if you're a community pediatrician practicing nowhere near academic medicine in a tiny little rural town, this is your chance to start to volunteer and prepare to lead formal didactic sessions and lectures in your field of expertise. So whatever it is, if it is being a rural medicine pediatrician, by golly, if you have 20 years of experience with that, and you can come teach our residents the trials and hardships that you've been through by not being close to an academic center, or the things that you've learned and you're able to handle on your own outpatient without having at your fingertips quick referrals. Anybody has expertise in certain areas. You just have to find your area. So really start to think about what is your passion, what drives you, and what do you want to share with everybody else?
That is also important and cannot be emphasized enough. As we approach communication, again, we're going to talk sort of about a flipping of the script. So we've been talking to you at the level of intern leadership and senior resident in leadership, the importance of developing questions. Now you're the person that the questions are going to be asked to, and it feels very different. It feels very, very different. And so embracing that moment of sort of panic and fear when you have very bright, very smart people coming up to you and they're saying, why, what next, what should I do now? Be confident in your answers. There's a lot of answers that you are going to know, but also feel free to kind of throw your hands up and say, you know what, I don't know, let's figure it out. It's so much easier when you figure things out together. It makes the task seem a little bit less daunting, and it takes a bit of the pressure off. So when you're working as a team to come up with an answer, or if something doesn't quite fit in terms of this is not exactly what I have seen done in the past, but this seems like it's going to work beautifully for the patient, working as a team can definitely give you all the confidence you need to kind of take that step. The other thing that we wanted to talk about now as well is feedback. So feedback at this level, you are going to be giving more formal feedback to your learners. You're going to be doing more written evaluations. We are going to encourage you to lean into, we're going to call it the paperwork, but a lot of it is electronic now. This is a sort of an obligation and a duty of the role that you are in. A lot of times this is a bit more heavy in academic roles, but you are going to be asked to evaluate just about everyone that you interact with at some point. And so really lean into that, allowing those evaluations to pile up. It's not going to cause them to go away. How do I know that? Because I've tried it. It doesn't work. So we really, really want you to take the time to think about both formative and summative feedback and how this is going to help your learners grow. Again, it does not have to be all sunshine and roses. It does not have to be all hellfire and damnation. We want it to be somewhere in the middle, but we want there to be a growth mentality, a growth mindset. And so again, it's time to, as my mom used to say to me when I was more of a teenager, it's time to put on your big girl pants and learn that these questions are going to be asked of you. And so it's important to embrace that.
So some little caveats to kind of wrap up the end of becoming a fellow or a junior faculty. One of the biggest things that I've experienced in life with colleagues or life with watching others or messing up myself, I guess, it happens to all of us, is sometimes just becoming too removed. You know, like Dr. Bria had touched on before, sometimes it's okay to say no. And when you get too busy, it's better to prioritize and really value the things you do and really put a lot of effort into them. And one of the worst things you can do as a fellow or junior faculty is to just kind of be hands off and be like, not my job. You know, I'm now an attending. I don't have to be in the trenches. I don't have to be involved. That's the little resident's job. And I think that's one of the worst attitudes. I definitely think kind of old school medicine mentality is very much like that. I understand as faculty that we are so busy and there is so much more on our plates than residents see most days that, you know, there are more balls in the air than we can keep up sometimes. But being there, being present, being mindful and being involved, and don't lose sight of that. That's really important. Don't become too removed. The other thing we always get back to, which when you become too removed, I feel like you do take on more of a dictatorship role. So you say do, not let's do this together. It's less of a leadership role in that if you need help, I'm there. If you fall down, I'll pick you up. If you're drowning, I will save you. I like that things have changed, and thanks to a lot of ACGME changes recently, fortunately, we have the ability to help the residents in that light. So make sure we continue to do what we can do. And then getting back to just embracing there's always more you can learn. Know that there's more that I can be taught, that the residents can teach me, that the medical students can teach me. I don't know it all. I don't have all the answers. So every day I go home and read. I read all the time. I love learning from the students and the residents. So embrace that. Don't think, oh, I have made it. I finally come. I know everything I need to know about, like for me, for hospital medicine, for example. I don't, there's constantly more we can learn. And then a huge point to just kind of end with, that residency is hard. Residency will push you to your breaking point. You have not made it through residency if you have not cried, if you have not called your mom or dad, curled up in a ball, wanted to hide under a desk. It's hard. It brings out the best and the worst in people. And same thing with becoming faculty. So be aware that you are finally taking on a role where your behaviors are monitored, and they should be able to be modeled. Residents, medical students should be able to look at you, and you should be professionally acting the way that you're expected to act to be a good leader. Be aware of this fact. You're being monitored 24/7, 365. So lead with integrity and grace and continue to maintain that level of professionalism.
So we are almost done. Dr. Kielbasa and I wanted to leave you with 2 pearls. These are things that we live by, and these are things that we have learned. We want you to leave medicine. We want you to leave your relationships. We want you to leave everyone you touch and this world better than this world was before you arrived in it. You are here for a reason. You are important. And we can't physically see you right now, but we can see that in you. The other thing, and this causes me to bang my head against the wall or against my desk, it is a-okay to vent. It is a-okay to be angry and to be full of rage, but come with solutions. It is okay to vent, but then plan to solve. Be part of that. Be part of that process. It will leave you feeling much more full, much more complete than if to just vent or complain alone. We have had so much fun with you. These 4 sessions have brought us so much joy, and we hope that they have been helpful to you. We are so appreciative of the Florida chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics trainee tips. We love these topics that you have come up with. Thank you for including us in them.
Thanks, guys.